Hello, everyone. Ryan Embry here with The Sweet Spot, day 2 at the Digital Transformation in Hotels and Hospitality Summit 2026. It's a sleepy morning here in Arlington, but the energy is about to wake up. We are about to have an incredible day 1. I'm here with Jeneane Becker, Dean of Choice University with Choice Hotels International. Jeneane, thank you so much for being with me today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, good morning. We had a great day 0. About to go into day 1, the programming, the education on tap, what they've done at this event, really excited for. But before we get to that, I want to start with your title. I love the title. We talked about it off camera, the Dean of Choice University. We've had the privilege here with our hospitality campus crawl to talk to several deans, but this is the first one we've talked to a corporate dean. Talk to us a little bit about that and what that means.
So it's just a fun title that brings the academia to the corporate space, and so it helps people to know that we are truly learning forward, and we're not going to do some corporate speak. We really are focused on helping hotels, their GMs, their hotel, their frontline staff, really learn what it is that they need to do from an operations standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, and so we wanted to put the learning forward. So. My team likes to call me Dean Jeneane. Yeah. That's, their fun joke, Dean Jeneane. Yeah. And so I'm very friendly known as Dean Jeneane.
I love it. It's brilliant because, when we're talking to hospitality professionals and industry leaders on this podcast, what are the things that they are talking about as the foundations of their hospitality journey? It's the brands that in jobs that they had. And you're doing the same thing as some of these hospitality schools and educating the next hospitality professionals. But also, when you hear something like that, make sure you have a great SOP, guidelines, compliance, all of that stuff all put together. Now, where does technology, a conference like this is all about, technology, digital transformation. Where does that fit into your role in your day-to-day?
So in a few ways. So the team is responsible for creating and delivering learning across more than 7,000 hotels around the world. And so we do that in a variety of ways. Obviously, we can't be everywhere all at once. We have 50,000-ish learners that access our choiceuniversity.com platform. So that's where technology is really at the front, right? So we've got to have a platform that is growing and dynamic and meets them where they are. And so that's a place where I'd say that our technology is really at the forefront. Secondarily, the team is creating this learning that has to be scalable. So it's videos, it's e-lessons, it's virtual workshops. And so using that technology on a day-to-day basis, not just to create and develop that content that the end user sees, but doing the brainstorming, the project management, all of those components that go into building learning, all of that leverages technology. And then I'd say the third thing is that we're in a technology age of just growth, rapid growth and change. And so how does it not play out day to day? We have to help ourselves, our colleagues, and then also hotels to be able to adapt to and be agile and change with the technology as it changes as frequently as it does. So it's in everything we do.
Yeah. I mean, I was just joking the other day about, we have this conference in 6 months and it could be completely different. The hotel landscape and technology can be completely different. And you're right, the key, critical piece of what I've been hearing in these conversations that we've had the opportunity to have is implementation is key. The failure that we see sometimes on the rollout and implementation of some of this AI and technology that we're trying to integrate into our systems is not having the proper rollout and your employees feeling what that end objective is. So I'm sure the work you and your team, they are constantly doing that to make sure that everybody's on board and you see the key metrics and results that you're looking for. March, Women's History Month, you're on a powerhouse panel tomorrow, Lead Like Her, Why Diverse Leadership is a Business Imperative. Talk to us a little bit about maybe some talking points and a sneak preview of what to expect from that.
I mean, it's going to be a great panel. It's humbling to be among so many really wonderful female leaders in a panel such as this. So I'm no shrinking violet, but I feel a little bit like a shrinking violet in the midst of these other ladies. I kind of feel like the diverse leadership is all about how do you help people adapt to change. It's not just technology change, but just change in general. Yep. It's death and taxes and change are all the things that are inevitable, right? And so I feel like diverse leadership, especially female leadership, there is this intuition about what people need and how to bring them along the journey of change, because it starts with desire and then it goes to action. But you've got to bring people along, which is hearts and minds. And so diverse leadership, I think, helps to meet people where they are and bring them along that journey of change, whatever that change might be.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's so many different learning styles, communication methods that need to be implemented and, like I said, installed in organizations in order for, strategies and programs to be run successfully. So that will be, like I said, a powerhouse panel. Really looking forward to that. Getting back to the AI and technology, that's what this, entire conference is about. Do you think that guest expectations of where technology should be in hospitality, you think that's being met right now? And, where do you think there's kind of a gap that maybe we can close as an industry?
I think that different guests want different things. I think that's the biggest challenge when it comes to technology. Some guests want less technology. Some guests want more technology. Do you want to be able to open your hotel door with your phone? Some guests will probably tell you yes, and some will say, I want that key card, right? And so and I just stayed at a hotel where I had a physical key, and it was really kind of breathtaking to be in this very analog sort of environment.
Sure.
It was an 1800s old farmhouse, and so it had a physical key. And so there's something very sweet about that. Mm-hmm. And that's a one-time thing for me. But there are guests who like to have that physical touch. They don't necessarily want to be as technologically connected. But then there are guests that do. And so I think that the biggest challenge for hospitality is to figure out how do you appeal to a broad audience of guests. Even your target demographic can have so many different expectations. And so it's really hard to meet such a wide variety. And so I think that that's where we have to, as an industry, really think about, like, how do we make sure that the technology is there for those who want it, but that it doesn't have to be the end all for those who don't want it.
Yeah, that's that quest of personalization that the industry has been striving for. I mean, how many conferences have we sat there and be like, our end goal is complete personalization, the seamless traveler journey, all of those kind of hot terms and keywords there that we speak. But you're absolutely right. And I think another piece of that, Jeneane, is setting that guest expectation up front, right? If you didn't know that hotel had physical keys, it might have been a nice surprise, but it could have been also a not so nice surprise of being like, what is this? I didn't expect this, versus you've made this a part of your brand. You made this a part of your story. When you get here, you're going to have this physical key, and they're expecting that. And there's some of those surprises, right? Whether it's a good one or a bad one. So, setting guest expectations, so critical there, but love what you said. One of the things we also try to do at these conferences, it's very hard, as we talked about because of how fast changing it is to kind of look into a crystal ball and try to see, okay, what's next on the horizon. I think we're at this kind of, I would say, fascinating inflection point. Maybe it's not so fun, but like where AI strategies, implementation are coming to yield. They want results. They're saying, okay, let's see what these beta pilots actually came up with. What do you see on the horizon for how we're implementing AI and technology into our day-to-day?
So I'll speak in terms of how our team is using it from a learning perspective. A few months ago, we decided to do an end-to-end sort of test and say, where should we implement AI into our learning development, right? So we have to do some initial content gathering and then brainstorming on what we're going to create. And then we build out scripts and storyboards, and then we create the actual content, and then it gets reviewed and so on and so forth, and then it gets published. And so we have all these different stages that AI can play a role in, or technology can play a role in. So you can use, AI technology to build a script, or to build a storyboard, or to create custom graphics, or actually to create a video in and of itself, right? Yeah. But so what I would say is that we did this sort of end-to-end, say, for every type of learning that we create to say where are we best suited to use AI within the process of developing a video, within developing an e-lesson, within developing, a facilitator guide, whatever that might look like, because it plays out differently in each of these different things. There is not a single technology that can literally take you from end to end on a process, and there is and not all AI is good for all things. And so certain software is really good for scripts. Certain software is really great for PowerPoint presentations, for creating graphics, for creating videos. And so we did this search, and what we found was that even from the beginning of the end-to-end sort of looking at this process, things had changed so rapidly in just a matter of weeks that things that we thought early on in the process about what was best to use as a software for this, there were 3 other options, a few weeks later. And so what we basically said was, don't sleep on this.
Yeah.
You can't just say, this is where we can use AI in our process, and say that that's going to last you for 6 months or a year or whatever. We have to come back and continuously revisit where we think we should plug and play all of the best AI for efficiency, and just to take the burden off of the mundane tasks of the team, because that's really the true purpose of leveraging AI, I think, is really to free up the space to be able to do the people things, the higher order thinking and creativity and innovation. And so you really can't say, well, this is what it does, and think that that's going to last you for 6 months, because in 6 months, you're probably looking at a whole new host of software and technology and solutions that may not have even existed 6 months ago.
Yeah, and the roles also change, right?
Yeah.
For what your people are doing. That was an incredible point that you made about AI, because I think that's where we're getting caught up right now, is we're looking at the press releases that the big brands are all putting out and the major strategies, and we're not looking and taking a kind of zooming out and saying, there's actually probably 5 to 6 little ways we've implemented AI and created even an hour, 2 hours back to our employees a day. And that adds up over time, a week, month. And what is the most precious commodity for a hotelier in their life? Getting time. Right? So I love those insights there. I'm gonna, as the dean, I'm gonna go ahead and give you get some advice for maybe some young hospitality professionals out there. What would you share with them, whether it's about technology or whether it's just, as they enter their hospitality journey? What advice would you share with them today?
Hospitality is one of these industries that grabs a hold of your heart. And so if it grabs a hold of your heart, don't let it go, first of all. Second of all, it's also an industry where I feel like you have more of an opportunity to roll up your sleeves, to try things, to raise your hand and say, I've never done this before, but I'm interested. Show me, I'll do it. There's so many stories of people I know on my team, because they're all hotel operations and leadership people first, who then came to Choice University to become learning professionals. There are so many stories, even just on my team, but almost everybody I talk to in hospitality has stories of how they grew in the industry, how they just said, I'm interested, give me something new, let me try it. And it turned into the next role for them. And it turned into the next role and the next role. And there are whole career paths that are built off of just people being interested in learning more things and growing themselves. And hospitality is just an industry where I think that happens more than in a lot of industries. There's an openness to training up and having a succession plan, whether it's formal or informal as a succession plan, but training up the next wave of leaders and building that pipeline from within. And so just try things, raise your hand, say you want to try something, you're interested in something. And that's my best advice.
Yeah, it's brilliant advice. And, talk to so many now industry leaders that started on the front lines and are those stories that you're talking about, that organic growth. And it doesn't happen in other professions, right? If you want to be a doctor, you can't start at the front line of a hospital and say, I want to end up here as the doctor. But you can at a hotel. You can start on the front line. I was a bellman, and started in operations. And then, next thing you know, after a couple of years and at different positions, you're GM of a property, right?
I was a server at a diner when I was in college, and it was my favorite job because I wasn't in hospitality immediately when I graduated. I went into teaching. I went into the classroom, and but when I had the opportunity to return to hospitality, I now refer to that job in the diner as my favorite job before I really landed in hospitality for like a full career.
Yeah. Love to see it. Love to hear it. Jeneane, thank you so much for spending some time with us. We know you have a busy couple days, so thank you again for joining us.
Thanks.
All right.